Guys, stream is going live. A couple minutes before 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure the chair is up. Everything looks good. Where's my thingy? Where's my thingy? Where's my thingy at? Never mind. Trying to adjust my chair, but I think it's okay. Starting the stream a little early tonight, guys. Hopefully you can hear me okay in the chat. Today is June 17th, 2019. Let's take a look at the thumbnail, see if it looks okay. It looks good. I was very concerned because I had to reboot my computer and I had it all edited for the thumbnail. So hopefully it looks good to you guys. We are live right now for June 17th, 2019. As you noticed by the thumbnail, I had to scratch my nose there. Scratch it again. The theme tonight we're talking about is the Ultimate Comic-Con Convention exclusive. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. I did a blast out in the Facebook group. If you are not subscribed to my Facebook group, I highly recommend it. You can post whatever you want inside the Facebook group as long as it's nice and clean. And if you want to talk about your channel, if you want to talk about videos, if you want to talk about your collectibles, anything along those lines. Hey, Rainbow, thanks for coming into the chat tonight. We're doing something a little different for the drink. I'm going trying to lose a little bit of weight. So I'm trying to cut back on a lot of sugar. So I'm doing the G2 Gatorade. This is a grape flavor. It's not looking really grape on video, but it looks more black. But it's I can tell you it is grape. So we're going to do a pretty interesting stream tonight. Something a little different. It's another kind of thought experiment, but I had some pickups, which I'll talk about at the 9 p.m. mark. We're doing, as I mentioned, it's called G2. It's a Gatorade which has, I think, either low sugar or no sugar. Low sugar. So this one probably has like 12 grams of sugar. So it's about half less than a normal Gatorade. So I'm trying to cut back on a lot of sugar. If you're curious, that's usually what gains a lot of weight. It's usually carbonated drinks, sodas, things like that. If you cut back a lot of sugar, like in those type of drinks, you will lose a ton of weight. It's usually all water weight. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do. Me and my girl are trying to lose a little bit of weight. So coming up to the 9 p.m. mark, which of course is the start of the stream tonight. Again, the topic of the stream is another kind of thought experiment. I like doing these thought experiments with the audience. Of course, we're talking about what would be your ultimate Comic-Con Funko Convention exclusive. And there have been some releases for the San Diego Comic-Con 2019 releases. I'm not doing a video for it right now. I'm probably going to be doing it next week when there's more releases going to coming down the road, only because a lot of stuff is dropped this week or maybe the following week for Comic-Con. There's one item I know for a fact. It's a set of pieces I'm going to be getting absolutely. I believe they're Walmart exclusives. But we'll talk about that in an upcoming stream. So we're starting at 9 p.m. right now, and we have 3 people in chat. Thanks for coming into the chat tonight. So, pickups. I did have a recent pickup, and I want to do a quick little comparison. It's not going to be an unboxing video. It's not going to be a full review or breakdown. I just want to show you guys what I picked up. I went out over the weekend. Me and my girl celebrated our 2-year anniversary together, so I was very, very happy about that. And we were headed around the Sawgrass Mills Mall, which is probably one of the biggest malls in the South Florida area. And we stopped at the GameStop. We were looking around because we got a new vendor for our for an engagement that we have coming in next year. I don't want to talk about it right now. And we had we needed to find somebody, and we were looking to pick the person up an item at GameStop or at Books A Million, and we couldn't find. We found something that was really, really cool at GameStop, but the box was really beaten up. So we decided to hold off on that item. So I was looking around, and they had an item that I really wanted on one of the pegs, but the box was very, very beaten up. And it, of course, is a Elite figure. It is from Wave 66, and it is the AJ Styles, the house that AJ Styles built. If you notice here at the top, it's Wave 66. This will be reviewed, as I always do my AJ Styles reviews for my figures, for my WD figure. The figures I really, really like. But I wanted to do a quick comparison between this one and the Top Picks AJ Styles. And the box, of course, is very similar. I apologize for all the glare. You're probably seeing a lot of glare right now. And yeah, they have a Books A Million at the Sawgrass Mills Mall. It's a huge, huge amount of Funko stuff. This AJ, I think, is probably one of the best AJs you can get now. I love that sculpt. Love how it looks. The new AJ, I like it and I dislike it for certain reasons. I'll talk about that in the review video. I played around the figure last night. I was messing around with the articulation, seeing how it would move, taking a look at this shirt he has on. It's a rubber shirt. It's not cloth. It hooks in very similar to, let's say, all the other WWE figures that have a type of shirt, like the Seth Rollins vest, which clips in the back. This clips on 2 tabs on this side and 2 tabs on this side. They're 2 little squares that plug into place. And they're very, very difficult to line up. And that's one of the negatives, I would say, with the figure. If you're curious about the side packaging, they're very similar between the top picks and the 66. Of course, the top, the House AJ Styles built, which is, of course, this one right here. His hair is much longer, but it's a very similar buck. This side here, of course, is the same. I'll kind of turn it that way so you can see. It is very, very similar. And the back packaging, they have different artwork, which is weird because this one right here, this one, doesn't have him. It has him with the heavyweight belt, but this one is a better shot, in my personal opinion. But I like how they had his jacket in this one. This jacket doesn't have a jacket on this one. It's his normal jacket. It's not his blue T-shirt. It's not this T-shirt. It's just him with an open vest with his chest. So it's okay. So we're coming. We just had a little quick comparison. I wanted you guys to see this new figure. Excuse me. Let me grab it. I had it in the wrong spot. And this is, of course, the True FX face scan technology. It does look very similar to AJ Styles. So I do like how the new face scan technology is being used. These hands that are being used here are textured hands. I will showcase off in the video when I do the review on this one. That's not going to be this week's video. This week's video is going to be a Funko review. I couldn't do it last week because I had a spasm in my back and I had to get it massaged out. I don't know what I did. I pulled it or something. I was in extreme amounts of pain all last week, so I didn't shoot any videos. Literally any videos except the stream on Monday of last week is the only thing I did throughout the entire week. Again, drink of choice, we're doing some grape Gatorade G2. So I took some notes today for what I thought would be some cool convention exclusives. If you can make your own dream convention exclusives, what would they be? So I'll give you guys my thought process on this. So, again, coming out, just got past the beginning of 9 o'clock. I want to thank everyone who came into the stream tonight for this we're going to do a little bit of fun on this stream. We're going to go a little crazy. So, as you may or may not know, if this is the first time you're coming into my chat, you may or may not know I'm a very, very big Green Lantern fan. I have a very, very extensive Green Lantern collection, Funkos, action figures, statues, a huge comic huge comic catalog backlog of all comics. Not every single Green Lantern book, but a lot of the newer stuff. Not a lot of team up books. If he came into let's say a Batman book, or he went into Teen Titans, or he went into those, I usually don't pick up the spin-off books. I usually just get the books that are dedicated towards him, meaning his own book, a Green Lantern book, or whatever the case may be. So if you had to figure it, of course, I would talk about it, which would be some Green Lantern core stuff. So I'm thinking along the lines of a San Diego Comic-Con release, a New York Comic-Con release, even Emerald City Comic-Con, E3s, Dragon Con, or the big conventions where I'm talking about these items, which I think will be very, very cool. Again, this is my personal list. I'll hit you guys up in the chat. Hopefully more people do come into the stream tonight. I want to hear you guys' opinions of what you guys would like to see. If you had the power to create exclusive stuff for these big conventions, what would you do? So, I'm going to start off, of course, with Green Lantern. And we're going to start off, I have all my notes here, so you'll see me looking at that, looking down a lot because I'm referring to my notes. I typed all this stuff up today. So, probably one of the big ones, I would say, this is all in the Green Lantern mythos, if you will, for at least the first part here. First thing, I want to go big. I want to go big right out the gate, and that's big because it's going to be the 10-inch Mogo, the living GL planet. I think that would be very, very cool to see as a Funko Pop. Can you guys hear me okay good in the chat? Please let me know, Rainbow, if you're still in the chat. Again, I can't hear myself talk back because I don't have headphones on. And if I turn my speakers on, I'll have a lot of reverberation, a lot of echo. It won't sound good. But just let me know in the chat if it sounds good with you. Again, 10-inch Mogo Living Planet. I think a 10-inch Green Lantern world would look very, very cool. Thanks, Rainbow. Next would be a 6-inch Green Lantern power battery that would light up. I'm thinking like a light up gimmick would be very very cool for that. They're starting to do some light up stuff. They're doing a Batman and Commissioner Gordon comic moments, I believe, or it's either movie moments or comic moments with a working bat signal, which will light up. So they're doing a lot of stuff now with light up features. The Iron Man that we saw from Walgreens had a light up repulsor cannon. So I think they can do some really cool stuff there. Next, I was going to say Sinestro Yellow Lantern. The only Sinestro we've ever had was from the Green Lantern movie, that horrendous Green Lantern movie that came out several years ago with Ryan Reynolds. We have a Sinestro that came out from that movie. It was not comic book accurate. It was more movie accurate. I really wouldn't even call it comic book accurate because the suit didn't look like the comic book suit. It looked more like armor pieces, which is what the Green Lantern movie suit kind of was like. Looked more like armor portions, not like a smooth bodysuit. I think a Yellow Lantern Sinestro would be very, very cool. We don't have one yet. They could repurpose the body for that and just change the uniform. I don't like the way it looked. It didn't look like a traditional Sinestro Corps outfit. If they do that, the Green Lantern outfit just didn't look right, as I mentioned. It looked more like armor. They would have to repurpose it and make it look like a suit. Next, we're going to go Red Lantern. I think they're making some Red Lanterns will be very, very cool. They could do an Atrocitus, and I think if they do an Atrocitus, they should do like a mini figure, like a mini mystery figure of Dexstar. Ooh, that would be very cool, Rainbow. I can see a Kilowog. Absolutely. We have a Kilowog. We have a Kilowog, but it's a normal size Kilowog. It's not a big Kilowog. We have a 3 3/4 inch Kilowog, which is a normal pop size. That came with the Chip, the Guy Gardner, and the Kilowog 3-pack, which was the last Legion of Collectors Corps that Funko came out with for DC. It was a 3-pack. I can see Kilowog as a 6-inch pop, absolutely. Next, we had, as mentioned with Atrocitus, they should come out with like a Dexstar minifigure. Because they could do pets really, really well. They can scale it down and think of it as a pocket pop, but without the keychain. An Atrocitus with Dexstar. I think that would be a very, very cool normal size. I don't think that needs to be a 6-inch Red Lantern Atrocitus. I think that will look very, very cool. Then I went with Bleez. Bleez, I have a statue of Bleez. If you've never taken a look at my statue review, I highly recommend it. You can find it in my catalog. If you look up Bleez statue, you'll find it. It's a very, very gorgeous statue. It was about $100. It stood about this tall. It had bone wings. It's very, very fragile for the wings. I did a full review of that statue, but I can see them making a statue, a pop like that for Bleez. I think that would look very, very cool. Next, I could take that same Guy Gardner, which we just mentioned, Rainbow, and repurpose that and make him a Red Lantern Guy Gardner. I think that will look very, very cool. The Red Lantern outfit, maybe coming out with the red napalm breath, maybe some stuff coming out of his mouth. Maybe a construct coming off the ring. I think that will look very, very cool. Next, we have to go with, of course, the embodiment of Gollum from Lord of the Rings. We got to go with Larfleeze. We need a Larfleeze pop very, very badly. I think that would be very, very cool to have a Larfleeze pop. They can even do one during Christmas time. They already talked about the Christmas pops or holiday pops for this year. It's all Marvel. But there was a annual that came out with Larfleeze, and he was trying to steal people's presents, and he had a Santa hat on. So, and I think he had a Santa Claus beard on as well, if I remember the comic correctly. So I can see them making either a normal Larfleeze or a variant exclusive like that with him in his Santa outfit on. I think that would look very, very cool. If they did something along those lines, that would be very cool. Next, we go down to probably one of the most famous Blue Lanterns. Next to, of course, was Flash. Would be Saint Walker. I think a Saint Walker Blue Lantern pop would be very, very cool. Especially made him like very, very thin and very, very lanky, because that's how Saint Walker really is. He's not a very build. He wouldn't really fit the Funko Buck. They'd have to make a more lankier Buck for him, at least in my personal opinion. More of a thin Buck, not your standard superhero Buck, because he's more of a thin, wiry character, not very, very muscular. So I think that would be very, very cool as well. Again, the drink of choice tonight, guys, is Gatorade G2. We thank everybody who came into the stream tonight. Next, we have, I have to go with this one because we got him as a White Lantern, but they have not made a Kyle Rayner Green Lantern in his normal outfit, either his original outfit, the black and white one, or the black and green one. The original one was black, white, and green. The newer one was just all black with a green center, and some green trim on his body. I think having both those would be very, very cool for a Comic Con. I could see them doing one as maybe a variant of some sort. I think that would be very, very cool. Those would be all my Green Lantern themed releases that would be convention exclusive that I would like to see. Next, I'm going to go to a property you guys may or may not have heard of. If you have not picked me up on the stream tonight, definitely take a look at my video on demand. You can watch this entire stream there as well. There's a book series that I used to read. I've been very, very lazy. I don't read as much as I used to. I want to get back into reading again. And that was the Dresden Files. Jim Butcher's sort of masterpiece that he put together. It's come out on, he's written, his 16th book is coming out shortly. He's written a set of fantasy books, which was not part of the Dresden Files. It was his own fantasy story world. But the Jim Butcher Dresden File books are 16 books. He's writing up to book 20, and then he's doing a epic trilogy after that. So he has scoped out 23 books. And he's done short stories and things along those lines, spin-offs. He also has done a role-playing game. He's done a card game. He's done comics based on one-shots and based off the books themselves, which were translated from the book to comic book form. I think Dynamite Comics put it out, if I remember correctly. I can absolutely see that. Also, they had a Dresden Files TV show on Sci-Fi Channel. It lasted only one season, unfortunately, and then it was canceled. But it was a very, very good show. It was similar to the books, kind of. It had the Dresden Files feel to it. Just to kind of run down a little bit what it's all about. It's the character of Harry Dresden is a wizard who lives in Chicago, a normal wizard, a wizard, that he has his name in the phone book, and he's a wizard for hire. So think of it as modern day. It's a urban fantasy. It's kind of what it is, where he's trying to solve cases and crimes, usually with the supernatural. There's vampires involved. There's werewolves involved. There's supernatural entities involved. It's a very cool thematic sort of story and world building that he's done for these characters, and it's very, very cool. I highly recommend the Dresden Files. The first book I think is called Stormfront. Stormfront is the very first book. He wrote that book in college as a college assignment to see if he can get it published. And he was able to make a manuscript that his teacher liked, and his teacher was a published author as well. And his teacher decided the work he had was good enough to get published. And he created Stormfront, which is the very first Dresden File book. Highly recommend it if you've never read it before. If you like urban fantasies, if you like tongue-in-cheek humor, if you like something that takes place in a modern era with a supernatural and a magic twist to it, I highly recommend it. Usually, I would say people who like Harry Potter and want more of an adult-themed book, they might want to gravitate to that title. So that's my personal opinion there. Next, I have two Marvel ideas. Very first one, of course, is Gambit. I'm a big Gambit fan. I've talked about it before. I did a full review of the newest Gambit figure, which was the Marvel Legends figure. I think they could do the box art with Jim Lee's box, like Jim Lee's comic art. I think would look very, very cool for that. But I think definitely a Gambit in his original suit with the trench coat, the pink and blue armor, the knee-high boots, at the quarterstaff, maybe a card in his hand. I think that would look very, very cool. Next, of course, is Darkhawk. I've mentioned it before. I'm a very, very big fan of kind of non-known characters from Marvel. Things like Speedball, Night Thrasher, some of the original Guardians of the Galaxy, Advanced Astro, the guy with the purple mohawk or the red mohawk. From Guardians 2. He didn't look like what we see him in the movie. He looked a little different. Yondu, that's what it was. I had to remember the name, Yondu. Yondu was in it, but he was different. He carried around a bow. He was an archer. He was like, think of it as their Hawkeye. He was a sort of a futuristic version of Hawkeye. You had Vance Astro, who I believe had Cap's shield, if I remember correctly. This took place in, I think, the year 3000. So it's much further along, which is what the original Guardians stuff was all about back in the day. But I like the traditional old school Darkhawk in his original armor. I can see them doing Mike Manley box art, who's the one who did the original artwork for Darkhawk. If you're not familiar, I absolutely love that old school Darkhawk art. The new stuff, not so much. It's okay. It's not that great per se, but it's all right. It's okay. But I would think those two guys I would love to see. Gambit and Darkhawk would be two characters I'd love to see come to Funko form. Next, we're going to go wrestling figures. If you guys may or may not know, if you're new to the channel, new to the stream, I'm a big wrestling fan. I thought of some old school WCW guys that they absolutely should do. They won't ever do it because of licensing reasons, but I think it'd be very cool if they do. I think they should do the Midnight Express. If you're not familiar with old 80s wrestling, there was a team that had a big rivalry back in WCW days. There were really four teams that were four big tag teams. Besides the Freebirds, you had the Rock and Roll Express, you had the Midnight Express, you had the Road Warriors, and you had the Four Horsemen. Those teams, like consistent teams, were the big four teams that they had that they would wrestle each other a lot. And that's what I'm going to. Jim Cornette, Bobby Eaton, and Stan Lane. That's the the Midnight Express. I remember when I grew up watching wrestling. I don't know if Cornette would even allow something like that to happen, but I think it'd be very, very cool to have them as a 3-pack. Have them as a 3-pack. Have Cornette be pushed more to the front of the packaging and kind of flanking back to the side. Sort of, it would be because Cornette was always the mouthpiece of the Midnight Express, so he'd be right in the front with the tennis racket, and you have Bobby and Stan Lane kind of pulled back away, kind of breaking off to the sides. I think that would be very, very cool. And sort of to mirror that, their most famous tag team was the Rock and Roll Express. Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson as a 2-pack. I think that should be a 2-pack as well. I think they could do a lot with that. I think that'd be a very, very cool idea if they did something along those lines. I think it'd be very, very cool to do something like that, a 2-pack for that. That's my personal opinion. Next, moving down, some pop rides. I think we should do some pop rides. I talked about two of the really cool 80s TV shows I really liked back in the day. One was Airwolf. I think they can really do a really cool Airwolf. I've mentioned this before on another stream, where they could do an Airwolf with the blade at the bottom that you could put onto the top and it would spin. So you just clip it in place. So basically packaged to the bottom of the box. You pop it out and then it have maybe a piece that would fold and snap down, and then it would plug into the top of Airwolf. They could easily do that. They could do a variant of it where they could do Red Wolf, easily do a Red Wolf, just do a paint variant, make the bottom red. Or they could do a variant of it with the weaponry deployed, weaponry non-deployed. So you would have, I think the chase would be deployed weapons. So you would have the side guns would be open, you can't push them back in, and the 3 cannons at the bottom would be deployed. I think that would be very, very cool, with, of course, spinning blades. Next would be a smaller pop ride, which would be Street Hawk. I think they should do Street Hawk. I think those two would be, I think those two would be very, very cool to have, a Street Hawk and a Airwolf. We already got Knight Rider. We already got kind of the old 80s vehicles. We got the A-Team van. We got Kit now for Knight Rider. We need Airwolf and we need Street Hawk. Those are kind of the 4 kind of campy action 80s TV shows that we had back in the day. I think those would be very, very cool pop rides. The Street Hawk one would be a smaller bike. You would have Jesse Mock, which is the guy who was the main character of that show. You could have a Jesse Mock pop where he's holding it with the helmet down. You could have the laser out the front. You could have, I can't remember what they called his he had a speed mode where he would, they would count it down and they would take off and it would, they did like a CGI effect where lights would be going past them real fast. It was sort of like their super pursuit mode for Knight Rider. It's what the Street Hawk had as well. Moving on to the last group here I have, no, second to last group, would be the, oh, I lost it, there we go, would be Dungeons and Dragons 80s cartoon pops. They are having a resurgence with the statues. They're coming out with brand new, like I think foot and a half tall statues for the old 80s cartoon D&D cartoon they had back in the 80s. That was, of course, the group of friends that on a roller coaster, went to the Dungeons and Dragons roller coaster ride, and got sucked into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Those guys are being created now as a set of statues with interlocking bases. So you can interlock the entire group together. Of course, we had Hank the Ranger, you had Bobby the Barbarian with Uni, a little unicorn, you had Sheila, which was the thief. I can't remember the female acrobat. There was a black girl with a extending staff. You had Presto with a bag of it was like a hat of many things. He kept pulling things out of it, and you had Eric who had a cavalry shield. He had a shield of power, basically. So it was a very cool cartoon. I love that cartoon. Now they should make all those characters, each one I mentioned. Diana. It was Sheila and Diana. I think Diana was Sheila. Sheila was the rogue with the cloak of invisibility. Diana was the one with the extendable staff. They should make all the characters for the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon except Dungeon Master himself, which was a smaller character. He was bald headed, had a red robe on. He wouldn't be in that one. You would want to make a 6-inch Venger pop, which would be 6-inch him sitting on top of his nightmare horse. But he would come with a little Dungeon Master minifigure, is what I'm thinking. That's where the Dungeon Master would come from. So you would want people to buy the entire wave, so you would stick Dungeon Master with the Venger. So if you want to get the entire group of characters, you'd have to buy the 6-inch pop for Venger. Then I'm going to go big. Go really, really big. Because the big rival in that cartoon was Tiamat, the 5-headed dragon, the female dragon queen. They should do a 5-headed Tiamat 10-inch tall pop. I think that would be very, very cool. Yep, there you go, Rainbow. I think that would be very, very cool. They're coming out with statues, Rainbow, as well, just so you know. They look very, very cool. I've seen shots of it. They're not super expensive. I think they're between $100 and $120 from what I've seen. They're about, I want to say they're about this tall. I think they're about this big. Let me see if I can find a picture real quick here so I can show you what it looks like. It looks very, very cool. I was very, very surprised that they got the license for that. We get Hank D&D statue. The one I'm going to absolutely get first and foremost is the Hank statue. I think that one looks very, very cool. It's $115 at Sideshow Collectibles. So this is what it would look like, Rainbow. That's the Hank statue. Right there. Looks super cool. Right there. It might seem like a lot, Rainbow, but if you look at most Sideshow statues, most of them are between $300 to $500 per statue. This, to me, is a bargain. When my girlfriend got me my Green Lantern premium format statue, which is him, like one leg up, one leg down, with his hand out with the green construct fist, that was a $400 statue. The Sinestro one with the buzzsaw hand, which I've done reviews for both those statues, that was a $400 statue. This statue here, to me, is well worth the price. This is $120, but you're getting a lot of quality for this statue. If you look at it, it looks really, really cool. It's a really cool looking statue. So we're going to be doing one for each of the characters, at least for a pop, I think is what they should do. Going back here, we had Tiamat at 10-inch scale, as I mentioned. Now I want to go to kind of something that I used to play a lot of D&D. I played a lot of 3rd edition D&D. I didn't play any 4th edition, but I played some of the 5th edition stuff, and I think they should really get the license for, because I know Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast is owns D&D, and Hasbro owns, I believe, Wizards of the Coast. So they should make Forgotten Realms Funko, and they need to do a Drizzt one. They need to do a Drizzt, because they've made minifigures of Drizzt, but they never made a Funko of him. I think I would love to see a Funko of him with 2 scimitars out and a minifigure Panther of Gwen Wyvar. I think that would be super cool to have. They also need to make an Artemis Antiri, which was his Tree's rival. You got 3 $25 DC action figures for $30. Oh, that's pretty good. So you got 3 for $25. Was that total, Rainbow? So you got three for 25, or each one was 25? I'm assuming you got each. I think you mean you got all three for 25 bucks. And they should do a Jerry Axel. If you're not familiar with the Drizzt books, it's written by R.A. Salvatore. He's written, I want to say, close to 20 books now. 30 total. Awesome, Rainbow. Who'd you get? If you're not familiar with the Forgotten Realm stuff, it's probably the most well known character who made a dark elf. If you ever see a dark elf character, it probably came from Drizzt. Drizzt was the Ranger Drow who left the Underdark and was a good guy. All Drow, 99% of Drow are evil. They're mean. They're bad. They're a matriarchic society in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, Forgotten Realms, and they're all usually evil. Um, Jerry Axel was a jokester. He had a huge hat. I mean, like a big. I mean, the hat was like four. Think of like a Indiana Jones sort of hat, but make it three times bigger and much more puffier. That what Jerry Axel would carry all around. He has an eye patch over one eye. He's bald headed. He has a big, huge feather coming out of that hat. He's all flamboyant. It's all glitz and glamour with Jerry Axel. He's a funny as hell character to listen to when you read about him. If you've never read any of the R.A. Salvatore books, if you like high fantasy stuff like The Lord of the Rings, stuff like that, read the first book he ever written was called The Crystal Shard. It was part of the Mithril Hall series. It was the Crystal Shard, Halfling's Gem, Crystal Shard, Streams of Silver, Halfling's Gem. It's a trilogy of three books. That was the original core three books he's written, and it's very, very cool. If you've never read any of the Forgotten Realms books, I highly recommend those three books. And the last one I want to talk about would be a story. I would call it the storybook moment, because you had movie moments, you've had comic moments. I figured storybook moments would fit that theme, and that would be my own creation, and that would be a Drizzt and Artemis fighting or clashing. I think that would be very, very cool as well to have, and that's my set of things I think would be very, very cool as convention exclusive items. Let's see, Rainbow. You got Hawkman, you have Constantine, and Black Adam. Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. Be able to take it out of the box, or yeah, I agree. As far as in card or off card, I like both, especially if the figure can be repackaged back in the box. Um, Most of my Green Lantern, I would say 90% of my Green Lantern stuff that are action figures are displayed. I have a couple pieces. I have a Jessica Cruz and that new Kyle Rayner, which are still in package. I'm trying to keep stuff reboxed right now and trying not to take things off card like my AJ Style figures here, only because I'm going to be moving in about 8 months or so, if things go according to plan. Uh, that's the idea. And for putting things back in packaging. Hey Tony, thanks for coming in, sir. Awesome, dude. Thanks for coming into the stream. Um, as far as keeping things together, it's much easier to just put it back in packaging and boxed up rather than trying to, repackage everything up back in the box and then package it. It's much easier to, just like most of my Funkos, you'll see, I have shelves of Funkos, and most of them, I want to say about 80% of my collection is in box still. And I don't want to take it out of the packaging because I don't want those items to be out and then have to put it back in the box and put the box in storage. I want to just take it and put it right into the storage totes. That's the idea. But that's everything for the stream tonight, guys. We only had a few people in chat tonight, and that's okay by me. I want to thank everybody who came into the stream tonight. Next week's stream, we'll probably be talking about New York Comic Con is what I'm thinking about. Excuse me, San Diego Comic Con probably is next week, I'm guessing, as far as the review. It's going to be an hour-long review. Anytime I do a convention review of product, it's always an hour. So, San Diego Comic Cons, New York Comic Cons, if I do an Emerald City Comic Con convention, for the exclusives, those are usually hour-long videos or hour-long streams. Last week you got the Mattel DC UC Batman Arkham City Nightwing for 20. I have seen that figure. Yeah, I have no problem. I would usually recommend Rainbow, if you take something out of the box, don't throw the box away. just in case you're going to be moving a room around, you want to go from home to home or wherever you're going to move from house to house. It's easier to keep it in a package, so you can put the guy right back in the box. You know where it's at. You know all his parts are there. And you put it back in, into storage. That's what I recommend. Next week, hopefully, like I mentioned, we'll do San Diego Comic Con. Hopefully, everything's go according to plan. They may or may not, depending on what's been released. There might not be all the releases yet. It might have to be a few more weeks. I don't know yet. One kind of note I'll let you guys know about, because we have a couple people that stayed to the very end. There's going to be some radical changes to the channel in the next coming beginning of July. I'm doing some big changes with the channel that people are going to like and some people may dislike. But a lot of things I'm going to be kind of shaking up because I'm trying to rebuild the subscriber base, rebuild the channel, because a lot of stuff have dropped off. And I'm partially held to blame for that. Okay, that's cool. No problem, Rainbow. But that's partially on me, and I'm trying to again rebuild the brand, rebuild Rook Geek Goodness, try to rebuild this community to make it fun again. And I want to thank everybody who stayed with me. I know that Rainbow is a newer subscriber. I know Tony's been along for a while now, but I want to thank everybody who has stayed and watched my content. So thank you guys for coming into to the stream tonight. Tony, hopefully you catch some good fish. Rainbow, thanks for coming in. I'm going to cut the stream now. Take care in 3, 2, 1. Take care, guys, and bye bye.